Looks like some members of Sauce Walka's crew, the Sauce Factory, have been arrested, man. Now, let's actually look at this news report that everybody is associating to this story. Then we're going to get into some of the things that are being said online. Like, as I said before, Sauce Walka is a well-known rapper from Houston, Texas. Dude's got a nice following, and his way into the rap game wasn't a traditional one, you know? He's known more for his player side of things, me trying to keep it YouTube friendly, and, you know, things that he's done outside of rap that draw interest from people in the streets. Now, we've documented beefs that he's had with other rappers like Blicka and other people of that nature, but this time it looks like Johnny Law is knocking at Sauce Walka's door, and it might come down hard on him, just like it came down hard on YFN Lucci, and just like it came down hard on Young Thug. Because at the end of the day, it seems like with these RICO cases, the CEO of the label seems to be labeled as a boss, seems to be the person that's put out there as the leader because of the record, because of the position that they hold in the record industry and above these people within the label. I know the two things shouldn't be conflated or mixed up, but man, if what's going on with Young Thug is any indication of what might happen with Sauce Walka, he's looking for a long trial, man. This is crazy, man. So, man, let's get to this news story, man. This is crazy. So, Sauce Walka, let's bring this up, man.
Than a dozen men behind bars facing federal charges as part of a joint operation to crack down on violent offenders in the Houston area. Thank you for joining us. I'm Keith Garvin.
And I'm Daniela Guzman. KPRC2's Bryce Newberry is live at the downtown federal courthouse with some new details about this big bust. Bryce?
Keith and Daniela, we've learned tonight from the FBI that more than 200 personnel, tactical teams from all across the state, came in and surrounded the homes of these 14 accused criminals, arresting them at 6 o'clock in the morning. For this.
All right, so it looks like this took place about a day ago, and it was a sweeping indictment where some people rushed in home. And what's crazy is when you see Sauce Walka on social media, I follow Sauce Walka, so I see his movements and stuff, man. He's always got these cribs with a whole bunch of dudes who live there. You know what I mean? I'm not too sure if recently he's tried to move to different places. I know he was in Miami for a while, but it looks like this was in the Houston area. Now, the Sauce Factory, or TSF, has been looked at before in the past as potentially a criminal organization. And I believe that's why he moved to Florida the first time. But it looks like this might have came back to stab him, man, just based on karma, it feels like, man. I know I'm not the only one getting that feeling, man. This feels like some straight up karma, bruh. But man, let's continue with the news story.
Second time in 2 months, the FBI announcing a group of arrests. The special agent in charge of the Houston division says target violent crime.
For every criminal that we take off the streets, that's one less person being victimized.
Early Wednesday morning, FBI tactical teams helped arrest 14 men indicted for federal violations like drug trafficking and unlawful possession of a firearm.
Now, you heard that, right? Federal authorities. So this looks like it's going to be a Fed RICO case. Now, nowhere in this news report have they mentioned Sauce Walka yet, but this is the news story that's being associated with his crew, TSF, and the people who were arrested. Man. All right, let's continue.
Guns and drugs, they fuel violent crime.
Court records show several of the men have lengthy criminal histories in Harris County.
Well, federal charges usually are longer sentences. It's much harder to be released on bond on the federal side than it is on the state side.
The arrests come after federal and local officials in September announced a surge of law enforcement tools and resources to the Houston area to target gangs.
We're going to use
You heard that. They started just, what they say, in September, they started a large-scale operation to cut down on gangs. Now, I'm not going to say, well, maybe, because September was before, so we'll see, man. It seems like, man, a lot of the things that have been happening in hip-hop are starting to have the police and authorities starting to react to these things.
every resource available to make sure that we're dismantling gangs, that we are dismantling criminal networks.
And that's work that won't stop.
And we will keep chipping away at these criminal enterprises and to reduce the crime in the Houston area. That's our job.
And the FBI tells us that it cannot do all of this investigative.
Now, if the feds are doing the case, and the feds indict Sauce Walka and them, you know what I'm saying? Man, bruh, ain't no chance, man. Ain't no chance.
Bruh.
You know, might as well. We'll see how standing tall is going to really stand in the future, man, if this is the case. But let's continue.
Work without tips from the public, whether it's big or small. The special agent in charge stressed the importance of sharing that information.
Okay, so you guys heard that news story right there, right? Basically, there were 14 members or 14 people, and we're going to play it again, don't worry, that were arrested, and it's all men who were arrested at a house, and they had varying charges, and they were arrested by the feds. And it's looking like a RICO indictment, and they're serious about this. So if Sauce Walka, I know he hasn't responded yet, and I'll be looking for that. But if Sauce Walka was anyway involved, and I'll give you the names, we'll read the story also, man. It seems like, his goose might be cooked, man. It might be done, bruh. And I like Sauce Walka. Don't get me wrong, man. I do a lot of videos about Sauce Walka. But what's crazy is, let's talk about karma, man. Sauce Walka was just clowning Gunna, wasn't he? So let's play some of that, man. Just a little bit of that, right?
So you admit that the firearms was with you in the vehicle on this day?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Do
sir.
you admit? Do you admit that your rap career funded a criminal organization?
Yes,
Yes, it did.
Yes, sir.
Can I go home now?
That was a little bit of the video of Sauce Walka dissing Gunna after he did his plea. He made his plea deal. What's crazy is how fast the karma came back to hit Sauce Walka if all of this is true. Now, several people are out there saying that these guys who were arrested were members of Sauce Walka's crew, no doubt about it. And a lot of people are reporting that on social media. So let's actually look and see what the official news report that was associated with this says. So hopefully you guys can see this right here in a second. So that is the article right here, and we're going to read this whole thing. So it says, tactical teams help arrest 14 Houston men indicted for federal drug trafficking and firearm violations. So it goes on to say that more than a dozen men are behind bars and facing federal charges as a part of a joint operation to crack down on violent offenders in the Houston area. Now, let's be real. I think the feds do watch a lot of what's going on in hip hop and all that, right? But this is too coincidental, man. He was just clowning Gunna, and then all of a sudden this happens to his crew, allegedly or whatnot. That's the fastest karma I ever seen in my life. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all, man. So it goes on to say this. It says, a total of 14 men were jailed after being charged in various crimes, including drug trafficking, possessing a Glock switch. See, you already know. When you hear about that switch, you know that comes with a lot of time. And being a felon in possession of a firearm, U.S. Attorney Almadar S. Hamadani announced Thursday. Now, the following suspects were taken into custody on Wednesday. Anthony Ketchum, 35 years old. Anthony Yazino Hopkins, 38 years old. Brandon Milson, 32 years old. Hassani Mills, 34 years old. Jalen Pinson. These cats still in the street, man. Okay. Jalen Pinson, 29 years old. Jose Rodriguez, 32 years old. Keith Moore, 34 years old. Michael Henry, 32 years old. Miles Smith, 23 years old. Robert Thomas, 29 years old. Sterling Brumont, 26 years old. Titus Balsey, 35 years old. And Torrey White, 27 years old, according to the news release. Now, as far as I know, none of those names is Sauce Walka's name. So maybe it's just his crew that in the list of the people who are arrested, I don't see Sauce Walka's name listed, or at least his name that's on social media. You know what I mean? So it seems like if this was his crew, he wasn't directly arrested right now, or arrested yet, I should say, because when it comes to these RICO indictments, man, you guys already know, man. As many times as we talk about these stories and we go over these things, man, sometimes people get arrested first, sometimes people get arrested last. But when you start to see people in your crew get arrested, and if somebody doesn't hold the ship down, you're gonna be next. And it's amazing that the karma reacted that fast, that the world reacted that fast and said, okay, you laughing at Gunna, so let's put your team to the test, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. Now, hopefully you enjoyed that story, but do me a favor. Make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and make sure you hit that notification bell so that way you get a notification every time I do one of these updates. And we out of here. Peace.